All right, you have officially finished doing all the independent sleeping with bedtime and the nights, or you're in the middle of it and you feel like you're ready to move forward. You've been working on this gentle phase out method. You've been working on the good nights and getting everything incorporated. Now you are ready to incorporate good sleep finish with nap time. So whether or not you are still in the good nights, whether you're in the first week of independent sleeping or the second week, whenever you're ready to be listening to how to get those naps in gear, now is the time. But I want to first begin by telling you that you don't have to start nap training if you don't want to, okay? There could be many, many ways to incorporate this idea. And if you feel like what you have set in place is working, there's no reason to fix it. If you feel like you're happy with the daytime sleep, happy with your baby still being dependent on being held or rocked or fed to sleep during the day, but the nights are awesome, so great. There is no reason to change something or pressure or unnecessary outside, extremities that are going to cause this to be a necessity, okay? You could do it if you want to, if you feel like the naps are driving you crazy, if you feel like you want to extend the naps, if you feel like you got to get there, fine, or you want to, but there's no pressure to do it. You might feel like you want to just continue to have the freedom and flexibility to be on the go, be in the car, be in the stroller as the day goes by. So as I always tell you, there's no right or wrong, and something only needs to be fixed if you feel like it's a problem, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to outline the rules of nap training and how you can implement it if you want to and if you are ready for it. But I will say that if your baby still struggles with good naps, doing a nap training will definitely help make naps smooth, just like bedtime and the nights are. So remember that your baby now sleeps in his crib for bedtime and nights, no matter what phase of the gentle phase out method that you're in or where you are, what week you're in independent sleeping. You've gotten a solid foundation set up, because I only want you to move to nap training once that foundation is there. So once you begin incorporating this for days, you're going to have a full unified front with everything, and make sure that all of your child's sleep is in a really good place. Okay, so there's no pressure, but if you're ready, it's a great idea to move forward. So let's talk about the hows of what you're going to do. Now, assuming you are in the last ultimate phase of the gentle phase out method, there's a few ways to go about this, okay? Option number one is to do the same current phase that you are in of the gentle phase out method. If you are in full touch, doing it at full touch. If you are at the midpoint, doing nap training at the midpoint. If you're out of the room, then doing out of the room. Option one is to do the exact same phase that you are currently in, okay? But that might be difficult for your baby just because he can fight sleep more during the day than he can for night. So option two is no matter what phase you're in, even if you're already completed all phases of independent sleeping, and you already did nights 10 through 12, and you already did nights 12 through 14, going back to full touch for naps, and every day or two just phasing off progressively like you did during the days. Every 3-4 days you can phase yourself out more to get naps more familiar. So you can go with either option, okay? But nap training is very, very different. You want to make sure that you don't get stuck, and you don't want to reinforce your baby being picked up. But nap training is different because we still have to have that daytime sleep solidified and solid to make sure that it can move forward. We don't want a baby to get overtired. It's really important we don't spend the whole day letting him scream, because it's going to be draining on you, draining on your baby. He's going to get overtired and it's not going to work. So whether or not you decide to go full force with whatever phase you're in the gentle phase out method, or go back to full touch and phase out, it's important you follow these 3 rules here. Okay, number one is you have to have a 20 to 30 minute cap when doing nap training. What do I mean? You can't just let your baby scream all day long in his crib, because he's going to develop a negative association that you have worked so hard not to have. We don't want him to just be screaming all day long and for all the naps at all the time, because then he's going to really develop a negative association with that. And even more importantly, I don't want your baby to get overtired and miss his naps completely if he's crying all day. So if you remember when I talked about the nights and starting the gentle phase out method for the nights, there was no cap. I said bedtime might take an hour, might take 2 hours, middle of the night might be up crying from naps. There is a cap. So because your baby will get overtired. So if after doing the gentle phase out method, you try for 20 to 30 minutes maximum for any given nap. If it doesn't work, then you make sure the nap happens no matter what. If the nap doesn't go well, do whatever you can. Revert back to wherever, however, whoever, holding, bouncing, shaking. Do whatever you can to keep the naps in place, and you always try again for the next nap. Okay, so this is what it could potentially look like. Let's say you decided you're going to do nap training. Nights are in a decent place. You feel like you have that foundation set up, and you decide you're going to go full force with the nap training. So you try for nap 1, and you decide to go full force with the phase that you're in. Let's say you're at the midpoint. Okay. So you put baby in his crib, go sit in the midpoint, and you're sitting there. It's been 15 minutes. It's been 20 minutes. 20, 30 minutes is approaching, and your baby is not calming down. At that point, pick your baby up and do whatever you can to get the nap happening. Within that 20-30 minute mark, he's going to be overtired, but he's not going to be in a ridiculously horrible place that he won't be able to wind back down. Okay, so he takes his nap, and then you do the same thing again for nap number 2 or nap number 3. And it's all that repetition, doing it over and over and over and over. He's going to learn, okay? So you don't give up, but nap training can take a little bit longer than night training, only by the mere fact that your baby can really fight it more. But the more you do it every single nap, 2 times a day, 3 times a day, over and over and over and over. It's not a foreign concept. He knows how to do this for bedtime in the nights. It's smooth, and it shouldn't take longer than a week or a week and a half if you stick with it. Most babies will learn, but you got to stick through it. Now, if at that 20-30 minute cap your baby's starting to calm down and fall asleep, don't just take him out because Batya said 20-30 minutes is a cap. Use your obvious judgment. Okay, 20-30 minutes if there's a no-go. He's not having it. But if at the 20-30 minute mark he is starting to calm down, then by all means give him another few minutes to let him settle. Okay, so that's the hows, the rules of nap training. But because nap training can sometimes be daunting, parents are often very hesitant to start. You can imagine your baby might be fighting naps for a solid week while you do this, okay? But unlike bedtime and the nights, it's really difficult to do nap training and be trapped in your house all day when you have a carpool to do and errands to run and work and all these other things. So the beauty of nap training is when you're home, you do it, okay? When you're home in your baby's crib, you do it. But guess what? If you're out or you have a doctor's appointment, you have to go buy some milk because you're out, then when you're out, your baby can sleep in the stroller or sleep in the car. It's not a big deal. You just do it when you're home, but the key thing is not to stress. Because remember how strongly your emotional umbilical cord comes into play here? It's not just for nights, it's for life, okay? So you want to make sure you can de-stress and understand when you're home, you do it. When you're out, that's okay. Because nap training does not mean locking yourself in your house for 2 weeks during the day. Not at all. It just means when you're out and about, your baby sleeps wherever. And when you're home, you do your best to encourage naps in the crib as much as possible. Obviously, you try to schedule your errands if you can and your appointments if you can when your baby's awake. But if you can't, then when you're out, you're out. And when you're home, you're home. And the goal of doing this part of nap training is that it's not a stressor and that you're consistent as much as possible. And your baby will get it. Trust me.